ॐ विश्वं दर्पणदृश्यमाननगरी तुल्यन्निजान्तर्गतं पश्यन्नात्मनि मायया बहिरिवोद्भूतं यथा निद्रया यस्साक्षात् कुरुते प्रबोधसमये स्वात्मानमेवाद्वयं तस्मै श्रीगुरुमूर्तये नमः इदं श्रीदक्षिणामूर्तये बीजस्यान्तरिवाङ्कुरो जगदिदं प्राङ्निर्विकल्पं पुनः मायाकल्पितदेशकालकलना वैचित्रचित्रीकृतं मायावीव विजृम्भयत्यपि महायोगी वयस्वेच्छया तस्मै श्रीगुरुमूर्तये नमः इदं श्रीदक्षिणामूर्तये तस्मै श्रीगुरुमूर्तये नमः इदं श्रीदक्षिणामूर्तये। ॐ सहना भवतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यं करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। ॐ शान्तिः शान्तिः शान्तिः। सदाशिवसमारम्भां शङ्कराचार्यमध्यमाम् अस्मदाचार्यपर्यन्तां वन्दे गुरुपरम्पराम्। ॐ So the basic person, conscious being, simple conscious being, the basic individual relates in the world. Relating in the world is living a life. Or living a life is relating to the world. One has to relate. And while relating, stress is created. So we break the relationship and build a new relationship, thinking that that will not create stress. Double stress. Breaking relationship creates a stress. And in new relationship, after some time, a stress is created. So just, giving up all relationship, impossible. So one has to learn how to remain free even while relating. There is no freedom from relationship in order to avoid the stress. And if I have to relate, in which way I remain free from the stress, even while relating? And the solution is this, that you should know that you are just a basic, simple conscious being who is totally objective, totally comfortable. Just being myself, I am comfortable. Not that I have to put an efforts to be comfortable. Just being familiar that I am a basic person, conscious, being conscious of everything. That is one thing which is not available for contention, that you are a conscious being. To negate that I am not a conscious being requires consciousness. You should be a conscious being in order to negate that you are a conscious being. It's not matter for contention at all. So you should be familiar that as a basic person, you are just a conscious being who is totally objective, or who should be objective in relationship. Thereby remain free from the stress. And the same basic person basically, assumes various roles, a role of a husband, wife, employer, employee, father, mother, uncle, aunt. So, we use the word role because it's a one person is a mother and daughter. It's a one person who is father and son. If you are a father, you cannot be the son. If you are son, you cannot be father. Therefore, basically, these are the roles which I assume. Assumption of a given status of an individual is called role. A same individual assumes, when my mother comes, I become daughter. When my daughter comes, I become mother. It's an assumption. Relating to different people, I assume various roles. But who is that one person who assumes this role? That is this basic person. Simple conscious being. Who is basically objective, naturally relaxed, that assumes the role. And to understand this, in Shastra they give always an example of a actor and beggar. So, let us look into this example of an actor A who assumes the role of beggar B. And this actor plays this beggar's role so well that a real life beggar also cannot play. Because when a real life beggar begs, there is no background music. Whereas on a stage, our actor plays a role of a beggar. He has a very appropriate background music. That's how he is the best beggar. And also he has learned the nuances of begging, etc. And therefore, compared to even real life beggar, we should give award to this beggar who is an actor. But this actor, this person, has some space, sacred space. And this is that space which makes this the whole role of a begging or beggar a drama, right? And enjoyable drama. And not only for the actor, but for others as well. Just because there is a space in that person, the actor. Even though he is playing a role of beggar, because of the space, the playing, that acting, playing a role, becomes enjoyable for him as well as for others. What is that space? It's a space of knowledge in the person, the actor. What is that knowledge? Well, that the beggar B is I, A, but A is not B. The role is I, but I am not the role. B is A, but A is not B. Right? So, basically, and so whenever the beggar comes on the stage, actor has to be there. When the beggar talks, the actor talks. The whole anatomy, the physical body of the beggar is the physical body of the actor. So in other words, the whole B is A. Right? But at the same time, A is not affected by the B just because of that space of knowledge, the awareness of the role, awareness of the beggar, in whom? In the actor. That saves him. Not just saves him, the whole thing becomes drama, enjoyable drama, for him as well as for others. Anyway, so basically that knowledge, knowledge of that role, that he's playing a role, etc., that is the space, that is the actor has. In fact, he, before even take up the acting, he has that knowledge that he was going to be a beggar. And in fact, he's accepted that role because of the knowledge that he would be richer by becoming a beggar for 1 or 2 hours on the stage, right? And therefore, it means that there is a self-identity in that actor, that B is A, but A is not B. And this awareness, the knowledge of this role, is the only space or a distance. Because between B and A, there is no other distance. There is no physical distance. Beggar and actor have no physical distance. They have not separate bodies. Between B and A, the distance or the space is not in terms of physical distance, not in terms of space, right? Not in terms of space also, not in terms of time. That beggar is at particular time and actor is at particular time. No. And therefore the distance between the beggar and actor is purely in terms of awareness or a knowledge on the part of actor that this is simply a role. That role is I, but I am not the role. I am not the beggar. Beggar is definitely me, but I am not the beggar. And therefore, because of that, A is not affected by the even miserable, tragic lot of the beggar. As per the script, the beggar suffers a lot of abuse, etc. But Mr. A, the actor, takes all of these abuses without being affected because of that space. And moreover, according to script, he has to roll out all, the tears from his eyes. He brought a lot of tears also, rolling down the cheeks, etc. And then after rolling down or while rolling down the tears, he congratulates himself that he has cried so well. And not only that, his friend from the audience also comes to the backstage after the drama is over and congratulates him that you have cried so well. He never cried. Even the friend doesn't say that why are you crying? You say you have cried so well. It's a big thing. He doesn't say why are you crying? So even not only he knows the distance between B and A, even his friend also knows. So that is why the distance which is known even by the friend, for friend also the playing of his friend as a beggar, has become a source of joy. So, that shows, this, if that space is there, definitely one can take up any role, even a tragic role. And the space between A and B is a permanent space. Permanent space. It is same in real life also. Not on the stage. It's same in real life. I, the conscious being, simple conscious being, who assumes various roles, that conscious being is the actor. Same conscious being becomes mother, relating to the daughter. Same conscious being becomes a daughter, relating to the mother. One conscious being. Exactly like an actor takes up various roles. So every day I also wear so many hats. I, the same conscious being, simple conscious being, wear so many hats, so many roles I play. But playing can be very tiresome and stressful if there is no space while playing the role. That's the thing. And therefore, one thing we should understand, that no role is devoid of challenges, obstacles, etc. Either on the stage, either in the real life. Even in the drama, the role has all the difficulties as per the scripts. Beggar has all the difficulties. A is free from those difficulties, challenges. In real life also, I, the basic person, is free from any difficulties, challenges. The role definitely has. As a mother, I have a lot of difficulties. My God. 2-year-old child or 3-year-old child. Pujya Swamiji always used to say why the mother has not become crazy after raising up these children is something, that's where the grace of Ishvara is. So every role has a challenge, either on the stage, either in the real life. But the actor basically is free from these challenges. That we should know. If we have that kind of a space, then we also can pick up all the roles. And those difficulties, etc., will remain, challenges remains to the role. Then it would not create a stress in a person. Even when, the beggar was abused on the stage, as per the script, actor has no stress. Actor is free from any strain, stress, etc. So anyway, every role has its challenges. All these challenges turn into frustration, etc., if they are not understood that they belong to the role only, and that leads to stress only. So therefore, there is a basic person, that is you, a conscious person, a relaxed person. And to see this fact, it doesn't take much time. It requires just insight. To see that I am just a conscious being, you have to follow these meditations, etc., where you become familiar yourself that you are simply a conscious being who is naturally relaxed, objective. So this is what a person is, the basic person, who is not a willing person. Also, I told you already, the same person then later becomes a doer, he has a will, etc. So the same basic person with the eyes open will become a seer. With ears open, he becomes a hearer. In other words, a simple conscious person ultimately picks up various roles. A thinker, seer, father, mother, all the roles. And there is no contention in that one is a simple conscious being who is free from all the challenges. Those challenges belong to the role. So this is an extra advantage. The same basic person becomes a meditator, etc., and can relate to Ishvara. If he identifies with the role, he cannot meditate to Ishvara. While relating to Ishvara, you have to drop all the roles. As a son, father, mother. Son doesn't meditate. Mother doesn't meditate. Son meditates on parents maybe, but not on the Ishvara. And that is not the definition of meditation. Definition of meditation is relating to Ishvara mentally. Then the person has to be a basic person, not the role. Right? Who relates to Ishvara. So you should be familiar with this basic person in order to be effective as a meditator and successful meditation also, as well as if you know yourself as a basic person who is an actor, you will have that space, and therefore all the stress, etc., all the challenges, etc., which belong to the role, the person will remain free from that. So with this, as such, meditation on meditator, etc., topic is over. But something more about the meditator has to be talked about in order to gain some extra advantages, which is the subject matter of Vedanta. In fact, once you do that basic meditation and you arrive at the meditator, then there are two paths open. Now you are a basic person, simple conscious person who is ready to relate mentally to the God, who is other than you, and you visualize an altar. Or you basically meditate on the meditator himself, herself, further, just one step further, and you will arrive at the subject matter of Vedanta. Who is this meditator? Well, Swamiji, meditator is this, you said, basic conscious person who is conscious of the world, conscious of the body, conscious of the mind, conscious of the breathing, conscious of the senses, right? But so if the object is there, well, I, the subject, is a conscious being. But suppose object goes away, then who am I? I am a conscious being with respect to the objects around, because that's why I say conscious, I am a simple conscious being who is conscious of the body, etc. Fine. But suppose body is not there. Suppose world is not there. Suppose mind has resolved. Then who am I? So this is a different type of meditation, which we call contemplation. Well, basically when object comes, you are conscious of that object. A conscious being, simple conscious being, subject. But if object is not there, object goes away, well, definitely, who am I? Will I disappear? Suppose object goes away. Suppose mind resolves. Mind is there, you say, I am conscious of the mind. I am the subject, mind is an object of consciousness or object of being conscious of. Suppose mind resolves, therefore I also resolves. I also go away. I also get destroyed. No. I remain. Even to experience an absence of mind. Otherwise, how will you say there is absence of mind? How the mind is resolved? I mean, how mind is resolved, to experience that, there must be the individual. So basically, if object comes, well, you are the subject, a conscious being. But if object goes away, then who are you? Well, still I am a conscious being, but then not as a subject now, was conscious of. That subject is not there. The content of that conscious being still remains. And that content of conscious being is what? Consciousness. So, basically this consciousness is there. I, the consciousness, is there. When object comes, I become a conscious being. Conscious of the mind, subject. If mind resolves, well, I as a subject won't remain because object is not there. But still the content of the subject, the consciousness remains. Content of conscious being is consciousness, which was there even when I become a subject and become conscious of mind, etc. And if it is resolved, still I, the consciousness, remain. And therefore now we will have to change the language. And we'll have to understand what is this consciousness. So, I can put it in another way. In consciousness, the words are heard. I can say that. Swamiji, you are a conscious being and you are conscious of the words. Okay, if words are not there, then still I, the consciousness, is there. Therefore, I change the language now. Because consciousness is all the time remaining, even as when I am a subject, conscious of something, still consciousness is there. If words are not there, then I am being a subject, I am not there, the status is not there, but still consciousness is there. Therefore, I put it a little differently now. And this is the way you should meditate if you are interested in nididhyasana, contemplation. This is a different type of meditation. After arriving at the meditator, when you're free from all the roles, as a basic person, as a conscious being now, your mind is available. Either you visualize the altar and do japa, etc., which we discussed, or else go further. Who is this conscious being who was conscious of all the things? Well, if they are not there, then who am I? Could you follow what I'm saying? So, if you visualize an altar and do meditation, it's called upasana. If you don't visualize altar, etc., but you basically try to see the identity between the meditator and the Lord in terms of its reality, well, it becomes a contemplation, nididhyasana. So there are two types of meditation. One is upasanam, other is nididhyasana. And so here, so in consciousness, I, the words are heard. Hearing takes place, I used to say that. In consciousness, I, the words are heard. And when the words are spoken, well, then they are heard. Consciousness is. When words are no more spoken, no more heard, consciousness is there or not? Consciousness is there. That's how I am able to say that no more words are spoken, no, they are not heard. Absence of words also are determined by what? Consciousness. Could you follow now? So reality of me is really not that status that I am just a conscious being who is subject and conscious of something else as an object. No. As a content, as a reality of this conscious being is consciousness. Whether the status as a subject is there or not. It is there when I become a subject and be conscious of something else. But in consciousness, the words are heard. When words are not spoken, not heard, then still consciousness is. When forms are seen, consciousness is. When eyes are closed, forms are not seen, consciousness is. Right? This is the most fundamental thing about me. So I'm not just conscious being with a subject related to the object. I'm consciousness. Who is there? Even as a subject, it is there. Otherwise, I cannot be conscious of something else. So, basically, even eyes are closed. Well, consciousness is. Forms are not seen. Consciousness is when, this is a little, please pay attention to this. When thought is, consciousness is. Thought is not, consciousness is. When the object of thought is, consciousness is. Object of thought, the thought is not, consciousness is. Now, let us put it a little differently. We have to see the dimension of I, the consciousness now. Space is. Consciousness is. Otherwise, how will you say space is? You say space is. Space consciousness is. Right? Space is equal to space consciousness is. Therefore, space is consciousness is. Space is in consciousness. You cannot establish the existence of a space without consciousness. Can you understand what I am saying? When you say space is, consciousness is. So space is, space consciousness is, space is in consciousness. Space is not like in a deep sleep state. Right? Space is not, consciousness is. I know that there is no time, no space, no memory in the sleep. How do I know? I know. Well, basically that in sleep I did not know anything, including space, time and everything. That means I was there, conscious, in the sleeping state. I was there as a consciousness in the sleeping state. That is how I was able to say after getting up that there was nothing in the deep sleep state. So there is a consciousness by which I established even absence of everything. So in a deep sleep state also, well, I, the consciousness, is very much present in absence of space. In absence of space, I exist. Please understand this. In absence of time, I exist. That reveals a very big thing. In absence of space and time, I exist means I am spaceless actually. In absence of time, if I exist, I am timeless. Vidyaya vindate amritam. If you are timeless, where is death? Where is birth? Swami, at the last day, what kind of a prarabdha we had to listen to. Please pay this attention. This is what you are. To appreciate it, and if you appreciate it, the advantages are manifold. In fact, the goal of human life is achieved. Everyone is interested in immortality. One day more. It's credit. Every day is a credit. Today is a cash, tomorrow is a credit actually. Who knows? I want to live one day more. Everyone wants to be immortal. Person runs 6 miles, 8 miles, takes a bunch of tablets. Like we take some savory in morning, this many bunch of tablets. For what? Discusses all types of food, which give nourishment to the body. For what? Why do I do all this? Oh, Swami, you could live 5 years more. The inherent desire in a human being is to be timeless, to be immortal. Anything which is within the time is mortal. Born, gone. You exist. You see, this experience of sleep everyone has. Vedanta highlights, analyzes the experience of a deep sleep state and reveals a certain reality about you. That's what they do. No, to be immortal, you need not have to do anything. You need not have some extraordinary experiences in order to be immortal. With our own experiences, if you analyze in the light of Vedanta properly, you will arrive at this truth. How can I exist in absence of time? Means time cannot limit me. That's it. Nothing exists in the world in absence of time. Everything exists in time. Whole world. All astrological objects also, a big, black holes and everything. Everything exists in time. Even scientists say also, after this many number of billions of years, while this whole creation universe will resolve, etc. Everything is in time. But there is something which is beyond time. So, anyway, so sleep is consciousness is, time is consciousness is, time is not consciousness is, space is not consciousness is, space is gone, consciousness is. What is the dimension of consciousness? If anything is in absence of space, what is the dimension of that thing? Think. If you exist, I will give you I will ask you a simple question. What is your dimension? You are there in deep sleep state. You tell also when you get up, I was there, I did not know anything, I slept happily. Means you are there, naturally. And you know also that you went to sleep and now you have got up. Everything. Therefore, you were very much there. What was your dimension in deep sleep state? What was your dimension? This much height, this much width, this much length? Nothing. As such also, logically we can say, if you exist in absence of space, therefore you have no dimension, but your own experience reveals that you are very much there in deep sleep state without dimension. No, Swamiji, I was aware that I had so much dimension in deep sleep state. Then it is not a deep sleep state. It's not a deep sleep state. Definitely not. And therefore, how many it is, how big is this awareness, etc., that awareness has no form. All forms are object of consciousness. All forms exist in space. If you exist in absence of space, you have no form. consciousness, you, is formless. Formless. And since it has no form of its own, and it cannot be called as this big or that big, it has no height, it has no breadth, it has no length, it has no front, it has no back, and it has no left, no right, it has no above, no below. Any form has all these things. Length, breadth, head, right? Like this as a form. There is something in front, there is something in the back, something on the sides, something above, something below. If consciousness is formless, basically free from all dimension, it is formless. And that is called spatially limitless. Spatially, in terms of space, space-wise, limitless. Means space doesn't limit it. Now, little further. Few minutes you tolerate me. Actually, I am singing your glory, and therefore you. This is what you are. And this is what you are seeking, in fact. I will tell you at the end. This is what you are seeking in and through all the activities. You want to be full and complete. You just don't want a single lack in you, a single limitation in you. If somebody shows a limitation in you, you will take care of the person. Really. Neither you like to be aware of your own limitation, neither you like, nor you like that somebody shows some limitation in you, in terms of physical limitation, intellectual limitation, emotional limitation. You just don't want. You want to be limitless. This is what you are seeking. Every human heart is seeking this thing only. There is no exception in this. One is seeking limitless. In fact, one is limitless. What you are seeking is yourself. That is the subject matter of the Vedanta. Anyway, now little look at it this way. So space, the consciousness is specially limitless. Means space is limitless, consciousness is. Between the limitless consciousness and space, what is the distance? Between limitless consciousness and space, what is the distance? If you say some distance, that distance should be in terms of what? Space. But that's how I'm saying. The between limitless, because space-wise I am limitless. Space cannot limit me. Then what is the distance between space and limitless consciousness? There is no distance. Between the moon and consciousness, what is the distance? You are aware of the moon. Moon is in consciousness. Between you, the consciousness, and the moon in consciousness, what is the distance? Even there is a distance. Distance will be in terms of what? Space. You will say, Swamiji, between the moon in consciousness and the consciousness, the distance is in terms of space, suppose. But the whole space is in consciousness. And therefore, the moon along with the space is in consciousness. And then, it's same way, the sun is in space, the stars are in space, all the planets, all of them, the whole physical universe, which is in space, and the space is in consciousness. And therefore, between the consciousness, you, and any object in the physical world, there is no distance. Any object and consciousness, there is no distance. If you say no, it distance in terms of space, but the space, whole space exists in consciousness. And therefore, ultimately, between any object and consciousness, there is no distance. All objects, the whole physical world, exist in consciousness, including space and time. There is no distance. Okay. What is my location? That's the question. Because already it is determined I am located in the body. Now analyze further. is this physical body outside space or inside space? It is inside space. This physical body is inside space, that physical body is inside space, this physical body is inside space, that physical body is inside space. All the bodies exist in space, and the whole space exists in consciousness. Right? Therefore, all the bodies along with the space exist in consciousness, I. Then what is my location? What's my location? There is no, this question itself is wrong, Swami. Take away your question back. Yeah. Therefore, basically, there is no location for consciousness. Therefore, consciousness is called all-pervasive. Consciousness is all-pervasive. So you have to get rid of this idea that I am located here inside. No. As a jiva, under the spell of ignorance, you will say you exist inside and you will leave this body and will acquire another body. That's another thing. But you, in reality, as a consciousness, well, everything, all the bodies exist in you, including space. And therefore you have no location. And when you say you have no location, well, the consciousness I is all-pervasive. Anyway, so how many eyes are there now? How many eyes? There cannot be two limitless consciousnesses. In fact, in English, there is no plural for the word consciousness. Could you follow? There cannot be two limitless. If limitless is there, all-pervasive, it should be what? One. And therefore, I, the limitless consciousness, is one without second. Whenever I use the word I, if I know the subject matter of the Vedanta, well, I say I am all-pervasive. You need not say, but at least you understand. Even when you say I, if you have this knowledge, you are exposed to this knowledge, you also will say, I am all-pervasive consciousness. There is only one I. There are no two eyes. Swamiji, your eye and my eye. That's not. That's not. There are two bodies. There are two minds. There are a bunch of senses there, bunch of senses here. All that is there. But in terms of consciousness, there is no second I. One without second. That's called non-dual. Non-duality. Duality means there is second. So anyway, so all the minds, all memory, all the bodies, all the senses, all exist in consciousness. The whole creation, think of anything. When you think of anything, it exists in consciousness. Without that, you cannot even think of. Anyway, so certain things look outside me. We feel that certain things look outside our consciousness, but they are not outside consciousness. They are outside my mind. They are outside my mind. And so, basically, it is good. The whole creation is not in the mind. Even few more objects come in my mind, well, I feel too much. I want to unload them. So, whole creation, well, basically exists in consciousness. I feel that the creation is outside me. It's actually not outside me, outside mind. Because it is not an object of your thought. Like I will give you an example. People who are in this premises, Arshavidya Gurukulam, well, inside this boundary, they are there. And there are people outside also. So inside, outside, from the standpoint of this compound, from the standpoint of this premises, from the standpoint of a space, there is no inside, outside. Everything is inside. Could you follow? Same way, there are certain objects which are outside the mind. They are not objects of my thought. So, and there are certain objects which are inside the mind as object of thought. But all of them exist in consciousness. Right? Because the whole physical world exists in consciousness, including space. And therefore, basically there is nothing outside consciousness. There is nothing without consciousness. There is nothing beyond consciousness. Everything is in consciousness. Everything exists in consciousness. And consciousness is self-existent. Everything exists in consciousness because it doesn't exist beyond. Now, consciousness is self-existent. Anyway, so that's how this all-pervasive, limitless consciousness is called Brahman in Shastra. See, but Brahman is used specifically to indicate this. Brahman means which is big, the big. And that is this consciousness. And therefore, well, coming up to the point of meditator, well, you still further think like this, that I'm not just simply a conscious being who is a subject and conscious of various objects, including the body, etc., or the world. Well, in reality, even if they are not there, I exist as a content called consciousness, which is limitlessly big. I am Brahman. So, that could be another type of meditation. Either you arrive at the meditator by being objective and visualize an altar and do manasa japa, etc. Well, that's also good. Or else you arrive at the meditator and think further in one more step. Who is this meditator? Who is this basic conscious being in terms of its content? In reality, it is limitless consciousness. So either you can do nididhyasanam or you can do meditation, upasana, visualizing a form, etc. Right? This much is enough for today. Now, two more questions which are left over yesterday. So I have kept it with me and I want to answer that. Whether the people are there or not, I don't know. But at least, so first question is, how do we know what is a dharmic thing to do in any situation? For example, if a relative asks for money, but that relative has a history of abusing, not returning, should we give money or not? What's a dharmic thing to do? Well, we should not give. Because Bhagavan said in 16th chapter, he talked about this dhanam, giving money, etc. He said, deshe kale cha patre cha. Seeing the time, seeing the person, patram means a person, and seeing the place, etc. All this you take into account and then give money. If patram is kupatram, then definitely you should not give money. Okay, so dharmic thing is, well, dhanam, charity, etc. is a dharma, very much true, but then basically it should be sattvic dhanam. You should give to thing which is to the proper person. Hari Om, our child is strong-willed. Anytime things don't go the way she wants, she lashes out at parents. So much so that this is very frequent, very, very sad. How can we help her with Vedantic teachings so she can benefit from our wisdom? See, the wisdom can be given to the person who wants to receive the wisdom. Right? Here also, so many people, we see, you invite your friend that come to our Thanksgiving capex, etc. It is really good, this, that, etc. No, I'm fine. You go. Now, how will you give the wisdom to such a person? Not possible. So, such a child is there who is, well, basically, who is so agitated, etc., who is not interested in this gaining wisdom, etc. Therefore, it is not a question of how we can give the wisdom. We cannot give wisdom, teaching, etc. forcefully in the person's mind. And for such a people, well, taking help of a psychiatrist is better, I would feel. If it is little beyond certain limit, then definitely they will have a certain solution, certain models, well, they can help. Vedanta is meant for the people who are jignasu, who wants to know. Therefore, this child who is not at all listening to the parents, where is the question of giving wisdom, etc. Wisdom is given to the person who wants to receive the wisdom, wants to know. So these are the things. Any other question? Still 10 minutes are there. So, yes. Yeah. If you want, give mic.
Yeah, I can speak loudly, Swamiji.
Okay, fine. That's okay.
So, Swamiji, about the question, someone asked about dharma and about the dharmic thing to do. In the scripture, of all the scriptures, there are many that focus on dharma. What is one that, in our tradition, that you think people should follow? If there's one book or one dharma shastra or smriti that has rules for us to follow in daily life.
Yeah. So that is generally they say Manusmriti. Manusmriti is there, which talks, dharmas are of two types, Samanya dharma and Vishesha dharma. There are certain universal things, and that has, this Samanya dharma has been discussed even in a Yoga Shastra also. In Ashtanga Yoga, they talk about Yama and Niyama, certain do's and certain don'ts. Swadhyaya, etc., all this. So basically, those are the universal. Certain do's and don'ts are common for all the human beings. And over and above, depending upon your varnashrama, etc., depending upon your disposition, etc., you have a certain more duties, which is called Vishesha Dharma. To know about the Vishesha Dharma, etc., this Manusmriti talks about. If you have a disposition of a Brahmana, then you should have basically occupation of a teaching and research and this and that, etc. So like that. So these things are discussed. Vishesha Dharmas are discussed in our Dharma Shastra or Smritis. And Samanya Dharma as such, also we know. Samanya Dharma, even in terms of values also we can take. Yeah, values are Samanya Dharma. That one has. Everyone is born with the knowledge of that universal structure called Dharma. I should speak truth. You need not have to learn from Dharma Shastra. I should be honest. I should be not cheating anybody. I should be accommodative. All these things you know, right? Based on our common sense ethics. Because this is what you expect from others. I should be non-violent. This is the Dharma. So that kind of a Dharma, the knowledge of such a Samanya Dharma, universal, everyone has. So then you basically conform to those structure, universal structure. Then you are dharmika. And still, if you are interested to know more your duties as a based on your varnashrama, etc., you are a grihastha, then therefore you have a certain set of duties. I am a sannyasi, I have a certain set of duties. Well, all if you want to know, then Smriti Granthas are there. Manusmriti basically talks about it.
Pranam Swamiji.
Yes.
Is spiritual realization differentiating form and formless beyond that?
Pardon? Is
spiritual realization,
Huh.
is it differentiating form and formless?
No. Spiritual realization is our moksha. Well, where you understand that I am one without the second, formless, limitless consciousness. Therefore, that is the only thing. So, visualization of a Ishvara in a certain form and meditating, etc., all is part of a religious life. But if you commit yourself to do nididhyasanam, then you realize that I am limitless consciousness, etc., then there is no form in that. No form. If form is there, then there cannot be limitlessness. Right? So
Being is a
that's a part of
formlessness.
spiritual life. Yeah. Religious life and spiritual life. Upasana, etc., which I was talking, is part of religious life. Whereas this doing nididhyasanam, in fact, knowing this through shravanam, etc., and then through contemplation, assimilating that I am limitless consciousness is a spiritual life. Spirit means Atma, basically. Spiritual life means basically you are committed to the self, knowing the self, assimilating that self, etc. So these two are little different.
Not identifying with the form.
Yeah. When you're in a religious life, you have a form, Ishvara also has a form, which you visualize. So that is with the forms. In a spiritual life, ultimately, it resolves. There is identity between them. Right? I am Brahman, etc. Ishvara is Brahman or I am Brahman, it is same thing. Even you can also say and I can also say and anybody can say that I am one without the second, formless consciousness, limitless consciousness. There is no form. Hurt. Huh.
What impact could it show on our consciousness?
It cannot. You are conscious of the hurt body or you are conscious of the body which is without hurt. Consciousness is not affected. Consciousness is not affected. That discussion, Mithya, Satyam, I have not done actually. But if there is one consciousness without second, there is nothing other than consciousness, then what about the forms? Well, they exist in consciousness. What exists in consciousness has a dependent existence. What is dependently existent is Mithya.
Namaste, Swamiji. So, could you please shed some clarity on devotion path and spiritual path? Are they complementing each other, or
Yes, very much. So, a life of devotion, we call Karma Yoga also. That is insufficient if you don't go further, knowing the self, etc. also. Then it is that life of Karma Yoga is not sufficient. You have a life of devotion. You may gain some punyam, etc. But then ultimately one should lead further, one should expose oneself to the teachings and gain knowledge ultimately. So life of devotion is incomplete without the life of spirituality, let's say. Life of spirituality is impossible without the life of devotion. If one doesn't have a life of devotion, means one has not enough qualification, one has not purified mind in which you are going to get knowledge. So if mind itself is not ready for the knowledge, then knowledge will not take place. And even if it takes place, you will not be able to assimilate it. And therefore, life of devotion is complementary to spiritual life. And spiritual life is impossible, basically. Knowing this and assimilating this is impossible without the life of devotion. Clear?
Clear.
Namaskaram. Yes.
Oh, sorry. Thank you. A follow-up question on that. Is life of devotion and the spiritual taking on the spiritual journey, are they sequential? If so, when do we know
Very
we are
good.
ready to
Yes, they are
ready to
sequential.
move the
Yes,
moving
they are
path?
sequential.
Okay.
And then the question is, how will I know that I have now, my life of devotion has culminated?
Yes.
Automatically you have a desire to know. The jignasa will arise. The reason is, when the mind basically becomes more and more, sattvic, then the desire for knowledge will arise. Sattvat sanjayate jnana. Bhagavan said very clearly, if the sattva is there predominantly in the mind will automatically has a desire to know, to gain moksha, etc. Automatically it will be there. And then Ishvara himself arranges for the teacher and these and exposure to the particular teaching and everything. That's how we are. I'm sure you, all of us, have without putting much efforts, have come across some teacher, some teaching one day. One day. It happens so that before also somebody told that, so-and-so classes are going on here, but I did not pay any attention. This has really happened in my life. So as the punyam, etc. arises, then all these things done by Ishvara. This is all grace. That's how we say grace. Grace of Ishvara.
Thank you,
Everything is
Swamiji.
arranged.
Pranam Swamiji. Just little confusion. When you say Brahman, Bru Dhatu makes big, it is big and makes others big, correct?
Brh and
Brah. So, When we say that Brahman big, the big isn't fall in a dimension?
No.
How come?
See, the thing is, big is an adjective. Big rat, big mountain.
Astu, astu.
When it is an adjective, it has a dimension. Even the word big is there, but depending upon the substantive, it has a dimension. Big rat means it cannot be mountain size, right? Big mountain means definitely it is compared to big rat. So the big, if it is an adjective, it will have a certain dimension depending upon the substantive. But if I use the big as a noun, substantive, then Atma is not an adjective to something, right? I am not an adjective. Married person may say that's a different thing, but then, but basically I am not. I am the substance. I am the substance of the whole thing. I exist, therefore everything exists. You understand? Pot exists because the clay exists. The substance is clay. Pot is adjective. It's a potty clay. Right?
Dhanyavada.
We say clay pot. It's not correct. We say clay pot, gold pot, copper pot. But really speaking, it's a potty copper. Yeah. Copper is a substance. Where is pot without clay, copper, gold? The very existence of everything automatically reveals the existence of consciousness. Consciousness is substance, substantive. And therefore I cannot use consciousness as adjective. And therefore, the big, that's it. There is nothing, no substantive to basically limit this bigness, right? If there is an adjective, well, it is definitely being limited by the substantive, but this is not. So you are the big. This is at the end of the Thanksgiving session. You are the big. You are unique. There is nothing like you in this creation. We want to prove generally outside that there is nobody like me. That's a different issue. But really speaking, you are something unique in the creation. Self-revealing, self-existent, free from any limitation. In terms of time, space, objects, no limitation. You are everything. You are everything. That's true. Everything exists in you because of you. That's the thing. That is Vedanta. This is the message of Upanishads, Veda. This is what I want to become. Really. No, Swamiji, I don't want to become limitless. It's not true. Whatever bigness you acquire, still you want to become big. Everyone wants to become big. In our eyes, that person is very big in terms of, suppose, money. But he is not satisfied. He says, I still want to become big. Right? So I want to become the big. That's the thing. And that you become. That's how the deep sleep experience is a most welcome experience. I am ready to go to deep sleep state anywhere, in a classroom or anywhere. Most welcome, really. Because there is no dimension of you. That's how you say also, Swamiji, I slept very happily. In fact, this wholeness, limitlessness is called happiness. When it manifests in the mind, this wholeness, we call happiness. That's it. In a moment of happiness, you don't have any lack or limitation centered on I. See that. If you have some limitation and you are aware of that centered on I, you cannot be happy. In a moment of happiness, well, one sees oneself whole, momentarily. If you know, well, then you say you are happiness. Means I am happiness, wholeness. Om Purnamadah Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om. Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om.